John Paul Getty III, also known as Paul Getty, was the eldest of the 4 children of John Paul Getty, Jr. and Abigail, and the grandson of oil tycoon Jean Paul Getty. His son is actor Balthazar Getty. Early life: Getty spent most of his childhood in Rome, Italy, while his father headed the Italian division for the Getty family's oil business. His parents divorced in 1964 and his father married again in 1966 to model and actress Talitha Paul. They adopted a hippie lifestyle and spent much time in England and Morocco during the 1960s. Getty stayed in boarding school at St. George's English School, in Rome. In early 1971, he was expelled from St. George's after having painted the hallways of the school one night, taking inspiration from Charles Manson's Helter Skelter. Later that year, his stepmother died of a heroin overdose in Rome. While his father moved back to England, he remained in Italy, where he lived a bohemian life, frequented nightclubs, and took part in left-wing demonstrations. Endowed with a considerable artistic inclination, he reportedly earned a living making jewelry, selling paintings and appearing as an extra in movies. Kidnapping: At 3 a.m. on July 10, 1973, Getty, then age 16, was kidnapped in the Piazza Farnese in Rome. A ransom note was received, demanding $17 million in exchange for his safe return. When that ransom message arrived, some family members suspected the kidnapping was merely a ploy by the rebellious youngster, as he had frequently joked about staging his own kidnapping to extract money from his frugal grandfather. He was blindfolded and imprisoned in a mountain hideout. A second demand was received, but had been delayed by an Italian postal strike. John Paul Getty, Jr. asked his father for the money, but was refused. Getty Sr. argued that were he to pay the ransom, then his 14 other grandchildren could also be kidnapped. In November 1973, an envelope containing a lock of hair and a human ear was delivered to a daily newspaper with a threat of further mutilation of Paul, unless $3.2 million was paid. "This is Paul's ear. If we don't get some money within 10 days, then the other ear will arrive. In other words, he will arrive in little bits." At this point Getty Sr. agreed to pay a ransom, although he would only pay $2.2 million, because that was the maximum amount that was tax deductible. He loaned the remainder to his son, who was responsible for repaying the sum at 4% interest. The reluctant Getty Sr. negotiated a deal and got his grandson back for about $2.9 million. Getty III was found alive in a filling station of Loria, in the province of Potenza, on December 15, 1973, shortly after the ransom was paid. 9 of the kidnappers were apprehended, including a carpenter, an hospital orderly, an ex-con and an olive oil dealer from Calabria, as well as high-ranking members of the Ndringta a mafia-type organization in Calabria such as Girolamo Piamoli and Saverio Mammolotti. 2 were convicted and sent to prison. The others, including the Ndringta bosses, were acquitted for lack of evidence. Most of the ransom money was never recovered. In 1977, Getty had an operation to rebuild the ear that had been cut off by his kidnappers. A.J. Quinnell used Getty's kidnapping as one piece of inspiration for his book Man on Fire. Later life: In 1974, Getty married German Gisela Martine Zacher, who was 5 months pregnant. He had known her and her twin sister Jutta since before his kidnapping. Getty was 18 years old when his son, Balthazar, was born in 1975. The couple divorced in 1993. Getty tried his hand at acting in European films. He played supporting parts in Raw El Ruiz The Territory and in Wim Wenders' The State of Things, which was shot at the same time as Ruiz's film, using part of its cast and crew. Getty was an alcoholic and drug addict. In 1981, he imbibed a Valium, methadone, and alcohol cocktail which caused liver failure and a stroke, leaving him a quadriplegic and nearly blind. He never fully recovered and remained severely handicapped for the rest of his life. By 1987, however, a daily regime of exercise, physiotherapy and speech therapy during which he reportedly showed extraordinary willpower, had helped him regain some degree of autonomy. He could again visit concerts and cinema, and was even able to ski, when strapped to a metal frame. In 1999, Getty, along with several other members of his family, became citizens of the Republic of Ireland in return for investments in that country of approximately £1 million each, under a law which has since been repealed. Death: on February 5, 2011, aged 54, Getty died at Wormsley, Buckinghamshire, following a long illness. He had been in poor health since his 1981 drug overdose. He was survived by his son and his mother. References. External links. Norwegian, Haraldsen, Stian. Skaret av John Paul Getty III. Dagbladet. July 10, 1973. John Paul Getty III at the Internet Movie Database.